Welcome back, everybody. This is Woodward Nights with Booner and Broder on the Woodward Sports Network. We are joined by Nick in the sound booth, Jalen in the TD booth. Yeah. We got Monday Night Football on the screen. The Browns are losing 3-7 to the Steelers.
They're making
I missed that first touchdown. Who scored it for Pittsburgh?
I think it was pick six.
Pick six.
Deshaun Watson pick six.
Deshaun
I need a Nick Chubb touchdown tonight, boys.
I called it on the show. I'm kind of scared.
I need that. I need a Nick Chubb touchdown.
Right on cue. Highest yards per rush. Running backs with 500 plus rushes in the Super Bowl.
Jackson. Wow.
That's a pretty good.
Jamal Charles, it's
a pretty good group to be in.
What a list to be on.
Thank you so much for everyone who's here. If you could, just for us, hit that like. Coach Walk, what's up, dude? Auteur, Peaceful Tim, Tyler, Shane D. We appreciate all you guys. Jack Harrington. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, sir. Appreciate everyone.
We were just talking injuries. We were getting past that SOL narrative. Why did the Lions really lose the game yesterday? To me, it was because of turnovers and penalties.
Yeah.
Like that's why they lost. There were other things that happened in the game, but the real key, decisions factored into it. The coaching decisions factored in both on offense and defense. It's not just AG, it's Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. I think there are all things that they can improve on. But what you can't have happen against good teams, especially good teams that come home, that come to your home with all that hype, you can't have penalties and you can't have turnovers. And they had crucial ones all game long. Several times when the Lions were driving and it seemed like they were gaining momentum, a penalty, a turnover, a fumble by David Montgomery, a pick six by the man who doesn't throw interceptions. He was inching closer to the streak of interceptionless football, and he throws a pick six. And to me, I know we've been talking about C.J. Gardner-Johnson's injury, and I would never ask him to change the way he plays, so I don't know how I feel about this, but that penalty he got early in the game where the Seahawks were driving, I think Kenneth Walker was a third down. He managed to stuff Kenneth Walker behind the line of scrimmage and got up just with his energy. He wasn't doing anything.
Extra push.
Yeah, wasn't doing anything dirty, or I don't even think he was thinking. He just got up from the tackle and pushed him, and it was a penalty. It was, and that one hurt. That one hurt early. We had a chance to really stop a high-powered offense early on, and it didn't happen. Booner, how do you feel about either the penalties or turnovers, or are there other areas that you noticed, whether it was the lack of pass rush or certain calls? Where do you think the Lions really failed the most in this game, or the most negative, I should say?
I have like, when I said earlier that I have like 15 things written down of why we lost and negative things that need to get fixed before next week. I literally have a list here. The first one I did put, though, I rewatched the game this morning. That Dan Campbell going for it instead of taking that field goal, and I was on that last week a little bit with Kansas City. I know there's these people who are kind of flopping on, like last week we won, they're excited Dan Campbell went for it, and yeah, let's just let him do his thing. I've always kind of been in that camp to where it's like you have some, like, I do like you going for it on fourth down, but when you have a chance to get 3 more points, I think it would have been like 10-7 or even 10-0. I can't remember where it was at in the game there. When you have a chance to take those 3 points, you take them.
It was 7-7. It was early in the game.
You especially right there, especially when you can take that lead and go up 10-7, puts a little bit pressure on them again because you just took the lead instead of going for it. Like, you take those points, in my opinion, at that. And I know there's spots where it's like, we're happy Dan Campbell does it. In that game, when you know last year you battled with them, you need as many points as you can get in this game. You take those points and you move on, because then you look at the end of the game, we go into overtime. That field goal on that last drive, instead of that being a field goal to tie it, that's a chance for a field goal to win the game. And the whole time I rewatched the game, that's all I could think about was, why did we just not take that field goal there? Why do you not just take the points? You're in the NFL. These games come down to one possession every single time. When you can get points in the NFL, you take points. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't get over it watching the game. And yesterday I wasn't as mad about that. I was more mad about the defense not getting to stop in overtime. The defense constantly letting Geno Smith do whatever he wants. No pressure on the quarterback. Geno Smith literally did not get touched, it felt like, besides Alex Anzalone. The defensive line was terrible. The interior defensive line, I don't know if we have. I had a tweet. I don't know if that's one that we can show or not. I can't remember. Was that one that we could show?
Which one was it, Boone?
It was the interior defensive line through the first 2 weeks.
I think it's definitely, if it's a tweet we can show, there's a video coming.
Is this with Levi and Aleem and all those
guys?
I got you, buddy.
This is huge to me.
This tweet is disgusting.
This is insane. PFF grades out of 114 defensive tackles, number 94, Levi Onwuzurike, 45.6. 99, Aleem McNeil, 43.8. Benito Jones, 111 out of 114, 35.8. 0 pressures, 0 stops, 1 missed tackle. 0 pressures from Lee McNeil, 0 stops, 2 missed tackles. 0 pressures for Levi, 0 defensive stops. So that right there, when you're playing a guy like Geno Smith, and we all talked about it, I bet you everyone in the chat talked about it going into this game, was your defensive line needs to stop and contain Geno Smith, and that was something that he had all day to throw.
Yep.
All day to throw. He could do whatever he wanted to. On top of that, I know the linebackers, and we're not going to put that one up, I don't think. Don't put that one up, Jalen. But the linebackers.
Oh, yeah.
What was that you were telling me earlier today,
We got to
brother?
show them, man. It was pure hell.
I don't think
hang
that's
on.
one we. Yeah, that's one. I don't think we can show that one.
But it's basically, it was the linebacker crew of Anzalone, Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez, Jack Campbell, James Houston, and Charles Harris. When those four were in pass protect, or when they were in coverage, the opposing receivers or tight ends were 14 of 14 against them for 169 yards and I believe 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
So when the entire linebacker, it wasn't one person, when the entire linebacker crew was in coverage, they absolutely got eaten alive. And it seemed like Geno Smith was doing that all day, not just to the linebacker crew, but to the entire secondary. And a lot of that has to do with that pressure up front. You talk about those defensive tackles not being able to get to the quarterback. My mind's pretty blown by those stats because they did a great job defending the run. They did a really great job, shutting down Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. But how they finished that low, I mean, that's the area that we were confident the development was going to come.
Yep.
They didn't go and get anybody in free agency, but we thought Ali McNeil was going to be a staple. I don't know where we would want him in PFF, but be a consistent top 40, D tackle, if not better.
DH95 in the chat said, Booner, there's this guy out of Georgia that looked real nice on our interior defensive line. I forgot his name, but the Lions might have a golden opportunity to draft him. I think that might have been a little bit of sarcasm towards us. I would agree with you.
Wait, who was it?
Actually, 2 guys out of Georgia.
Jalen Carter. He was obviously. I think he was being sarcastic. But no, yeah, that's a fair comment. Then, like I said, I spoke with Easy last night about it, and we talked about it today as well. That's a piece you needed, and he was right there for you. Obviously, you're not going to get one of these other rookies, but now we're seeing the effects of it, and that's just something that it comes with it. You miss on guys in the draft. And you hit on, they hit on guys anyway, so it's a give and take in my opinion. It's
back-to-back years, and we passed on Jalen Carter this year, and then Jordan Davis last year.
Jesus.
Instead of, we took J-Mo, and we haven't really seen what J-Mo can do. Just imagine the big body Jordan Davis in that defense. I think J-Mo's going to be a great player for this team and for this offense, but when you think about where we are struggling, 2 of the biggest needs back-to-back years, 2 elite looking players, young players out of Georgia, we passed on both of them.
I'm gonna hit this real quick. I'm sorry, Broder.
No, go for it.
Comment. Joe Guardry. I don't know. I'm sorry. Can we please call out Jerry Jacobs too? Always getting burned and getting a flag. How many times do we need to have to see the same cornerback story on the side? Jerry Jacobs was, and I'm sorry, was bad. He got cooked. DK Metcalf had anything he wanted. And I'm sorry, I know Jerry, he might watch it. I don't know. But you got cooked. And it cost us the game. And even when they switched him over to Tyler Lockett, like I said, I watched the game again today. The NFL Plus, I went and watched it. I just kept watching it back, rewinding. Jerry Jacobs got cooked by DK Metcalf. He didn't, he got anything he wanted, switched him to Tyler Lockett, gave up a touchdown on Tyler Lockett. It was never ending. Luckily, Emmanuel Mosley will be back. I don't know if it was a Jerry Jacobs' fault, and
it was.
And I even sent a play. To Jeff this morning to where Jerry Jacobs, they blitzed him. He had a straight shot on Geno Smith. All you have to do, I could have made the tackle. All you have to do is hit him and he falls. And he just slides by him, throws his body off him, and they get a 30-yard bomb to DK Metcalf. Even when he wasn't guarding DK Metcalf, he had a chance to break it up with Geno, and he couldn't do it.
I think for Jerry, though, man, it's not a lot of guys that can guard DK. Let's be honest here. But,
there was no one, I don't think we had anyone.
But the thing is, every time you seen him, he was always open. I don't care if it was a slant, a post, everything that he did that game, he was open, and that goes for when you put him on Lockett. Lockett is 5 feet. He's a midget. He's small. Put a body on him. You're playing back. Why are you playing back on Tyler Lockett? And every time they made a great catch, or every time something happened and went wrong, who was in the area? Common denominator, Jerry freaking Jacobs, number 23. Every
Made
time.
some, but
Will Harris is Jerry Jacobs. I don't know which one's worse.
Yeah, hopefully Emmanuel Mosley's back by Sunday. That's all I have, because I don't know what else you can do, because that was to me, it was just like, oh, what are we doing here? And then at the end of the day, how do you not make adjustments to figure that one out?
Yeah, that's where I was going to go.
From the jump. First quarter, he got burned 2 or 3 times by DK, and it killed us instantly. Missed a tackle in the first quarter.
And it's not just about Jerry Jacobs.
If
you were an opposing quarterback, you find a target to go after and exploit a certain weakness. I'm not going to say Jerry Jacobs is a weakness, but if you're going to choose between him, Cam Sutton, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, of course you're going to go Jerry Jacobs. And this is what happens when you play predominantly man coverage on defense and don't make any adjustments. Mm-hmm. When the Lions went to Arrowhead to play Kansas City, I know I wasn't the only one, but everyone was thinking that Aaron Glenn was going to be playing primarily man coverage like he loves to do, and then Patrick Mahomes was going to eat him alive. But they didn't do it. They broke most of AG's tendency, most of Coach Aaron Glenn's tendencies, and actually played a lot of zone, and it factored into that win. And KC's wide receivers are nothing compared to Seattle.
We knew that was going to be
absolutely nothing. So in this game, with a better wide receiver crew coming to town, you went and played man coverage all game long. You went right back to it, and that left Jerry Jacobs on an island, and that's what he got exploited. And when you're in man coverage, every defensive back has their back to the ball. So when you're doing that, you're not getting pressure up the middle. Your edges, Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Harris, those guys are crashing too high up from the outside. Geno Smith has all of this space up the middle to scramble if he gets past that line of defense. So it all goes into it. Why weren't adjustments made?
That's part of it too, and we could go at Jerry all we want, but at the end of the day too, you're not getting pressure on that defensive line. Wasn't getting pressure on the quarterback, so you're giving him all the how hard is it to cover a DK Metcalf man to man like that when Geno has all the time in the world to make a play? So we can go at Jerry Jacobs, but we can go at the defensive line too for not putting any pressure in helping, because that was part of this going into the season was, hey, we have a solid defensive line now. We have a secondary that can cover, buy time for the defensive line, and defensive line that is improved, more depth that can buy time for the secondary to get a stop. So you just didn't see that at all.
And Peaceful Tim said the 3 tight end sets by Seattle definitely dictated the coverage. Absolutely, it had something to do with that. But those tight ends ended up eating us alive.
Can I say one more thing too about a negative here in this game? Sure. Is these Dan Campbell 4th downs? We have the best punter in the NFL. We have the best punter in the NFL.
Yes, facts.
Why are we, when your defense is struggling, why are you trying to put them in positions where the Seattle Seahawks can only go 45 yards, 50 yards, 55 yards? When you know that and you see that after the first quarter, you should know instantly, hey, maybe we should punt and we should try and pin them inside the 10 with the best punter in the NFL, Jack Fox. Why aren't we using that towards our advantage?
Yeah.
Pin them inside, even if it's inside the 20, you're giving them 80 yards instead of 45. Yep. Give your defense a chance.
And at that point, the defense was letting Seattle drive up and down the field. So if you're on your own 45 in a punt situation, you're just giving them the ball back right near the end zone. You're in Detroit territory, so it's almost a guaranteed 3 points.
That's why your defense is. There's part of that too. You're struggling. I mean, you're backed up the whole game because you're going for it on 4th down and the turnovers. With those 3 turnovers, it was unbelievable. Like when you have a chance to give your defense an opportunity to actually get a real stop instead of putting their backs up there, and you're like, hey,
yes,
you can only give up 2 first downs before they have 1st and goal. You can only give up literally 2 first downs before they have a 1st and goal. Instead, you pin them into the 10, and they can give up 7 first downs before they get 1st and goal. That is a mental thing, especially when your defense is struggling. Maybe we should help them out.